Hey everyone, so if you've ever wondered what it's like to drive in the Pittsburgh area, well then stay tuned. You're going to have a shotgun seat as I drive from Castle Shannon, which is where I am right now, on Route 88, also known as Library Road. And I'm gonna head through the city, through the Liberty Tunnel, across the Liberty Bridge, over to Bloomfield. And so should be, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on traffic. So that's kind of the purpose of this video, is just to give you a real perspective, no editing, no fast forwarding, just what it's like real-time driving. My name is Mark McClinchy. I am a real estate agent in the Pittsburgh area. I have a YouTube channel that you're on now. It's called Mark Knows Pittsburgh, and I have lots of content primarily geared toward out-of-state, out-of-area home buyers who are unfamiliar with the Pittsburgh area. So I produce content to help them get a better understanding of what it's like to live in the Pittsburgh area. So part of living in an area, obviously, is driving around. And so if you're curious what it's like to drive around in the Pittsburgh area, these videos I hope you'll find helpful. So this is about the 5th or 6th one I've done. As a real estate agent, you might imagine I drive a lot, and I have clients that are looking to buy homes all over the region. So I drive all over the region, and I know all the neighborhoods really, really well. And so I'll take you on some of the main roads. I won't take you on some of the back roads that I might do normally to maybe save a little bit of time, a couple shortcuts. But we're on a Monday morning. It's 9 a.m. So we're sort of past peak rush hour. Pittsburgh does not have a huge rush hour scene, in my opinion. I mean, from my experience. It's not an opinion, it's an experience. Some people will tell you otherwise, but from my point of view, those people have clearly never driven in other cities like DC or Philadelphia, Chicago, any major US city. Traffic generally is horrendous. Pittsburgh is not that way. We have our moments. In fact, we're at the one intersection that typically bugs me the most. We are at the intersection of 88 and 51, which is Library Road and Sawmill Run Boulevard. And as you can see, as you're watching this video, I sat at that light for maybe 20, 30 seconds, and here we go, we're already through it. Now, admittedly, that's a little quicker than normal. But that's great. That usually is the one intersection that I try to avoid. I will definitely, if I'm planning a route and I know my day, especially like afternoon, 4 o'clock-ish, 5 o'clock, and I know I've got to hit, go through 88 and 51 intersection, I'll find an easy way around it, and it's not a big deal. But we're heading down, toward Pittsburgh. So this is the commute. Again, you've got some stragglers heading into town now. But this Sawmill Run Boulevard, also known as 51, is a main corridor. It is one of the main ways that people get to the city from the South Hills. There's kind of two parts of the South Hills. There's sort of the western side, which is like the Mount Lebanon, Upper St. Clair kind of side, which is like Route 19 or Washington Road. And then you've got the side a little bit to the east, which is more along the 51 corridor, which is like Baldwin, Brentwood, and that area. And so most of those folks are using 51. I don't, I live in Mount Lebanon, so I'm obviously more familiar going up and down Washington Road, and I find it pretty easy. 51 can be a little more, congested at all times of day, but nothing serious. I mean, it's just a typical, it's not a freeway. You're just going through old neighborhoods that were built up in the, 20s, 30s, 40s. And then as, things expanded further out, the 50s and 60s, you had no choice but to use these small, roads that are kind of very curvy and lots of traffic lights. But it moves. It generally moves pretty well. There's also a light rail that is to our left. So the blue line, the silver line coming out of downtown will get you all the way toward like Castle Shannon and beyond. So that's a popular route to commute in and out of downtown. course, down, yeah, you can see it off in the distance. You can see the light rail over there. So that helps significantly. So we're heading toward the Liberty Tunnel, which is one of 3 main tunnels in the Pittsburgh area. I've done a few other videos that feature all the other tunnels. I don't think I've done one yet that we've gone either inbound or outbound on the Liberty Tunnel, but we'll be going inbound, and you'll see that. Then we'll hit Bigelow Boulevard, which is a nice little road. And right now, again, we're in the city of Pittsburgh, so the city of Pittsburgh has pretty small city limits, unlike a lot of cities. And so you can be in the suburbs pretty quickly in the Pittsburgh area. By the way, a lot of people get really spun up when you talk about the city of Pittsburgh versus like the Pittsburgh area, and you know, for some reason, I don't know why, people would think that you can't call the suburbs of Pittsburgh Pittsburgh. We all know that, you know, every city has city limits, but you know, if you live in the suburban communities around Pittsburgh, you would still say, you know, you're from the Pittsburgh area, and even though you don't live inside the city. But some of the neighborhoods that we're going through right now, we've got Brookline to our left, up on that hill, nice little community, really nice, you know, like retail business district. You've got Brookline Boulevard, which is a lot of businesses there. I go there all the time. To our right is Carrick. So another nice community. I got a lot of investors that like to invest in Carrick. There is a lot of rentals there. I don't think I've ever represented anyone buying a home to live in it in the Carrick area, but it's a good investment. You can get homes at a reasonable price. Rents are pretty reliable and decent for investment income. So if you're looking to invest, let me know. I'd be glad to help. And if you're looking to live here, I'd be glad to help as well. So feel free down in the comments, tell me what you like or don't like about this video. Maybe I missed something along the way and you have a question about it, or if there's other videos you want me to make, I'd be glad to do that. You know, I don't show drives that are, you know, an hour and a half, mainly because I don't do any drives that are an hour and a half. Like I said, I drive all over the city, but most of my drives are pretty short. I stay generally within Allegheny County, so I'm often going from the South Hills to the North Hills, or from the South to the East End, or from the South to, you know, the West, or certainly within the South. But most of my videos, I'm trying to go from one section of the region to the other, primarily within Allegheny County. And most drives are going to be 15, 20 minutes. You really, unless you're going like border to border of one end of Allegheny County all the way to the other, you know, then you're talking 30, 40 minutes potentially, depending on what roads you're using. But here we are approaching the Liberty Bridge, so we've got a few brake lights here at this one intersection, but not too bad. We don't have like, you know, 3 and 4 light delays. It's usually a 1 light delay, maybe 2, certain areas. But like I said, I'll try to do other areas of Pittsburgh as well, just to give you a sense. So if you're curious as to what it's like driving in the Pittsburgh region, I hope these videos are helpful. So again, we are approaching the back side of the Liberty Tunnel entrance. To our right, this is Bousman Street that goes up to like Carrick and Mount Oliver. Goes up to the Hilltop neighborhoods. You've got Knoxville, Allentown, Beltsuber, several neighborhoods up there. And we're going to be going underneath the Hilltop neighborhoods, essentially, sort of underneath Mount Washington or parts of Mount Washington. And so coming through here, again, we've got old infrastructure, so, you know, it's just 2 lanes. Coming out the other side, I'm not sure if I'm in a right turn only lane, so I got to get over potentially. They switch it at certain times of day. I think it's still, yeah, it's not until later in the day. I don't often come that way. I'm usually coming down 19 to go through the Liberty Tunnel. So yeah, sometimes this right lane of the tunnel has to turn turn right at the end of the tunnel to the south side. But I think that's only starting after like noon or something like that. Right now I'll be able to go straight. You should be able to see a nice view of downtown a little bit off to your left as soon as we pop out the tunnel. It doesn't have as nice of a view or like a postcard view as coming out of the Fort Pitt tunnel. So I've got a couple videos, and if you look up Fort Pitt tunnel, or really any video of Pittsburgh targeted toward promoting Pittsburgh, is going to have a short video clip coming out of the Fort Pitt tunnel, because it's a beautiful entrance. It's sort of like the curtains open up and voila, you see this gorgeous skyline of Pittsburgh, and that's out of the Fort Pitt tunnel. The Liberty tunnel isn't quite as amazing, but it's still pretty cool. But as you can see, going through this tunnel, 9 a.m. Monday morning, it is March 10th, March 11th. So we're like in the second week of March. We just had daylight savings. So I don't know, maybe that's got a few people not driving, but it's really not congested. I expected maybe slightly more traffic, so that's good news, Really, we're just gonna, and the other nice thing about the Fort Pitt tunnel is there isn't a light at the end of it. You're just flying right through. There is a light at the end of this Liberty tunnel, but we'll be able to pause for a moment. Hopefully I'll get up far enough. You can see the U.S. Steel building, which is the tall black building over there. And then you see the Mellon building, a few other buildings, I don't know the name. PPG is off to the left. There's a new building straight ahead, First National Bank, and that's over on sort of the site of the old Civic Arena, part of the Hill District, which was a total debacle. They really displaced a lot of residents. The Hill District has never been the same. Hill District is an amazing community. It's always been an African-American centric neighborhood, center of jazz, center of culture, in the first half of the 20th century, excuse me. And I think once they really built the Civic Arena, it really had an economic downturn for that whole neighborhood, and it's really never been the same since. I was an elementary school principal in the Hill District, really enjoyed my time there. So it's a great neighborhood, tons of history. August Wilson grew up in the Hill District. But nonetheless, you can see, way to our left, you probably can't see it on camera, but we've got the PPG building over there. It's gorgeous. And so yeah, we're crossing the Monongahela River right now, just going across town or into town, and we're sort of going to be on the front of the town is like the point where the three rivers come together. But we're going across, like I said, the Monongahela. If we would go to our right here, we would go out toward like Oakland, Monroeville, and points east. We're going to keep going straight and hook up with Boulevard of the Allies. We're going right through Duquesne University's campus, going by the Allegheny County Jail, which is to our right. So we'll pop up here onto 579. The PPG Paints Arena exit is right up here to our right. Some of this was, there's a new construction. They are trying to build a sort of a, I don't know what they call it, like a flat park, like above this. All these overhangs right here are somewhat newer. They've done a lot of work up top above this. But we're on Bigelow Boulevard, one of my favorite roads, just because in the city it has one major traffic light, but generally you're kind of moving at a pretty good pace on Bigelow Boulevard. And if you're going anywhere toward like Shady Side or East Liberty, Friendship, Bloomfield, Bigelow Boulevard is definitely your friend. It avoids like going through Oakland and getting into all the congestion around the University of Pittsburgh. And we're sort of on the back side of the Hill District, which I mentioned earlier. And we are below us, there's a steep hill, to our left, and that goes down to the Strip District. So this is just sort of a, it's kind of a main road where sometimes people like to go like extremely fast on this road, so you have to be careful. But generally, I don't remember what the speed limit is. I think it's probably like 45. But it's a quick way to get to the East End. I used to live in the North Hills, and I worked in Shadyside, and we would come through Bigelow Boulevard all the time, and makes the commute very, very easy. So it actually, look, here's the speed limit sign. It's 35, so I guarantee you very few people. I'm going 47 right now, but nobody's going 35 on this street, I can guarantee that. But it moves really well. I don't think I've ever seen traffic on Bigelow Boulevard. Obviously, up here at the light, you definitely have. This can back up both ways, mainly at, in the morning and the afternoon. But generally, Bigelow is a nice way. It's even a good way to get to. I remember I used to take Bigelow with my dad. We used to go to Pitt football games, like way back, like in the 80s, early 80s, and getting to Pitt Stadium, the old Pitt Stadium. Pitt, of course, now plays in Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium, whichever you want to call it. But when Pitt played on campus, which my dad is all bummed about, but yeah, obviously for a Pitt football game back in the 80s when they were like, really, really good, going to bowl games all the time, winning a national championship, Tony Dorsett, all that kind of stuff, Dan Marino. Going to Pitt games, it was totally crowded, but we would all often come this way and go across Heron Avenue to get there. So that was a good way to get to the Pitt campus. So we're going to Bloomfield, as I mentioned. I think this was about, I'm not sure how long this video is going. We're probably around, I guess we're at like 17 minutes. So like I said, I knew it was going to be somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. We hit a couple more lights. It wasn't super, super fast, but at the same time, we weren't like just stuck in traffic. And we went from the South Hills. We were not terribly deep into the South Hills. It wasn't like we were coming from Bethel Park or South Park or Upper St. Clair, which you might take the same thing if you were in Bethel Park, certainly Baldwin, or if you were in Jefferson Hills, somewhere like that. Then yeah, you would probably have gone the same way, but you would have had another 10 minutes before we even got started on this video. But we got into town, through the tunnel, across the bridge, and now we're into the east end of Pittsburgh. We're coming up on Bloomfield right here. This is the Bloomfield Bridge. Bloomfield's also known as Little Italy, and we'll be turning right. You can see the Pittsburgh Little Italy sign up here, and we're going to be turning right onto Liberty Avenue. Yield, we'll make the turn. And this pretty much does it for my video. I'm going to stop over here and get some coffee. I appreciate you tuning in, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching. Pull it over here, and hope you all have a great day.